You know that feeling on your first day at a new job? Forget the official handbook for a second. You start to pick up on the unwritten rules, how people talk to each other, what actually gets celebrated, what's really important around here. Well, that invisible blueprint, that feeling in the air, that's exactly what we're talking about today. Organizational culture. So let's just ask the big question. We all hear about companies being a great place to work, but what does that actually mean? I mean, it's not just about the free snacks or a foosball table, right? The real answer is way deeper, and it's kind of hiding in plain sight. It is all about the company's culture. So let's put a name to it. Officially, organizational culture is the whole set of shared values, norms, and assumptions that define what's important. I love this analogy. Think of it as the company's unique DNA. It's this invisible force that guides how everybody, from the CEO all the way down to a new intern, acts and makes decisions. Now, to understand this DNA, we really need a map. And this is the one we're going to use, the iceberg model. It's perfect because it shows that what we can easily see on the surface, we'll call those artifacts, is just the tiny tip of the iceberg. The real stuff, the forces that actually drive the culture, are hidden deep below the waterline. We're going to start our little journey into this invisible DNA by looking at the parts that aren't so invisible. You know, the tangible things you can actually see, hear, and feel from your very first day. So the first step to understanding any culture is learning how to read the signs. In the world of organizational behavior, these clues are called artifacts, and they make up that visible tip of our cultural iceberg. And these artifacts, they basically fall into four main buckets. You've got the stories and legends people tell, the specific slang or language they use, the daily rituals, and the bigger ceremonies, and even the physical layout of the building itself. Every single one is a piece of the puzzle. Just think about the power of stories for a second. Company legends, about the founders or some heroic employee or even a spectacular failure, they aren't just for entertainment. They're basically social prescriptions. They teach everyone what behaviors are really wanted and celebrated, and they put a human face on the company's core values. Then you've got rituals and ceremonies. Now, they might sound kind of similar, but there's a key difference. Rituals are those programmed, everyday routines, like the very specific way everyone greets a visitor. Ceremonies, on the other hand, are the big, planned events for an audience, like the annual awards dinner or a huge product launch. Both are designed to reinforce what's important. And hey, don't underestimate the physical space. I mean, does the company have a wide open office to encourage teamwork, or is it a sea of private cubicles that scream individual focus? The architecture, the furniture, these are all tangible symbols that send a powerful message about the culture without anyone having to say a single word. Okay, so we've explored the tip of the iceberg. Now it's time to take a deep breath and dive below the waterline so we can really understand the hidden forces that are driving everything we've just seen on the surface. Right beneath the surface, we find shared values. And here's a simple way to think about it. If artifacts are what people do, values are the why they do it. These are the conscious beliefs about what's good or bad, what's right or wrong. They're the things that guide decision-making and are often right there in the company's mission statement. And if we go deeper, all the way to the bottom, we hit the true core, shared assumptions. These are the unconscious, totally taken for granted beliefs. Things like a deep-seated assumption that constructive conflict is always good, or that the customer is always right. They're so ingrained in people that they're almost never questioned, and they form the absolute bedrock of a company's cultural DNA. So all this stuff, culture, it doesn't just happen by accident. It can be observed, for sure, but more importantly, it can be intentionally built and shaped. So the question is, how does that actually work? This model here shows the key levers you can pull to shape a culture. And as you can see, it's this continuous cycle, from how leaders behave, to who gets hired, to what kind of behavior gets rewarded. Let's zoom in on a couple of the most powerful pieces of this puzzle. It turns out two of these levers have a massive impact. First, the actions of founders and leaders. What they do day in and day out sets the tone for everyone else. And second, reward systems. I mean, when you reward the behaviors you want to see, you are sending the clearest possible message about what this company truly values. There's also this natural force that makes a culture stronger over time. It's explained by something called the attraction, selection, attrition theory. Basically, people are first attracted to companies that seem to match their own values.
Then companies select the applicants who they think will fit in. And finally, through attrition, anyone who doesn't really fit either leaves on their own or is let go. It's a cycle that makes the culture more and more consistent. Now, what happens when two cultures smash into each other, like in a merger? Well, that is a huge, huge challenge. There are usually 4 ways it can go. In assimilation, the company that was bought just adopts the buyer's culture. With integration, they try to create a brand new hybrid culture from both. Deculturation is a bit more forceful. One culture is basically imposed on the other. And finally, with separation, the two companies just kind of agree to coexist as separate entities under one roof. Okay, let's bring this all the way back to the beginning. We started out imagining a new employee on their first day. So how does that person, that outsider, actually learn the ropes and become part of the club? Well, it happens through a process that has a name: organizational socialization. This is just the fancy term for how people learn everything they need to know, the values, the right behaviors, the social cues, to go from being an outsider to a real insider. And this journey from outsider to insider, it happens in stages. It actually starts before you're even hired, when you're forming expectations. Then comes the encounter stage, where you test those expectations against what the job is really like. And finally, as an insider, you manage your role and build relationships. When this whole process goes well, it leads to way higher motivation, loyalty, and job satisfaction. This all leads us to a really important modern debate in hiring. Should companies be hiring for culture fit or for culture add? Culture fit means looking for people who already match the existing values, but the big risk there is creating an echo chamber. Culture add, on the other hand, is about looking for people who bring in diverse perspectives and can add something the current culture might be missing. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. When you're building a team, or an entire company for that matter, what's the real goal? Is it to find people who will slot in perfectly and just reinforce the culture that's already there? Or is it to find the people who will challenge it, complement it, and bring something totally new to the table? The answer to that question really does shape the future of any organization.